Welcome to Mind Your Own Small Business.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
no
Thanks for
problem.
inviting me over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Happy to have Michael Voorhees.
yeah. It's good times. We've known each other for what
Man, a long time.
long time
I think,
since I started hanging out with Thomas.
yeah. Geez, I've known Thomas for a little over a decade.
Yeah, that's about the same.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
about the same.
then I've known you for
I started going to Whopper Wednesdays probably in 2016.
and that's yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it was about 2014 or something like that. Thomas said, "Hey, we had this group of friends who go eat lunch with." I was like, "Cool."
Then you moved to Boise.
For 2 years, yeah.
It was 2 years?
Well, it was like 18 months.
2 years, call it 2 years.
2 years in Boise feels like 10 years, though.
Yeah.
That place is a mess.
it's getting better or worse?
Oh, worse.
Okay.
yeah.
Everything's getting worse.
Everything's getting worse.
That's because
It made me feel like a curmudgeon now. All right, the world's going to hell.
Get off my lawn!
I don't know.
Do you think there's anywhere in the country? I'd like to know if there's anywhere in the country. So comment below if there's a place that's getting better in the country. Right? We always say, "Oh, it's getting worse. It's getting worse." Is there any place that's getting better? There's like, you know what? We had 10,000 people here, and then half of them moved out. It is so much better. Is there anywhere like that?
I don't.
I want to know.
I don't know.
I want to know if there's anywhere in the country that somebody can say, oh, it's so much better.
Well, the people who might be saying it's getting better might be other people who say it's getting worse because
Okay, yeah, all right.
the people coming in or whatnot might be changing the,
Yeah.
the demographic and whatnot.
I wanted to make a couple comments on your last podcast. I listened to it
Okay.
yesterday. Well, I listened to it Wednesday, and then I
Uh-huh.
listened to it again yesterday to kind of refresh before this. And so you're talking about ADD, right?
Yeah.
And I've got the standard version, so not the HD version. Yeah. But the running dialogue thing, that's a thing in my brain, man.
Yeah.
And I only realized like maybe a couple of years ago that the whole world doesn't operate that way. Like most people don't have the running dialogue thing going on. Like right now I'm thinking about 20 other things, right? Like
Yeah.
literally, and it doesn't turn off. It's all day, every day, even like probably when I sleep.
So, with that, I know you have trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
Do you have trouble sleeping?
I don't, and my
Okay.
wife will vouch for that, right? Like the second I lay my head down,
You
it's
fall asleep.
It's done. I could fall asleep right now. I just lay down on the floor over there, and you guys could keep talking, and I could fall asleep.
I'm the exact same way.
Like-
in fact, when me and Thomas would go on like business trips, we'd be in the hotel and be like, "I'm getting ready for sleep," and he'd be taking all the way on his laptop. I would open my laptop, put on a show to fall asleep.
To fall asleep.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm gonna not watch this program. And out.
If I turn on a show, I cannot fall asleep. I have to see how it ends. It's only until like the last 2 years where like my youthful vigor started to die that I'll be watching a show and then all of a sudden like 15 minutes will pass and then I'll get mad at myself for falling asleep.
That's like me in audiobooks. Damn it, I don't.
I don't know how long ago have I.
Yeah, how long ago does I tune out?
You have to set the sleep timer on your Audible.
No,
No, they have a setting for that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have a setting in
Who
Audible.
falls
Like,
asleep to
like-
books though?
not
Could.
me.
I can.
No, in fact, if I have a road trip or something to go on, dude, that's the
Yeah,
only way.
you're like you're listening
put on
to
a
it.
podcast or I'll listen to a book,
I'd
and
be-
I'm like "Brrr," all night long.
I'd be better with silence. I really would.
Really?
That blows my mind. No, but like, so going back to finding out other people don't have that, I found out talking to my sister. So I told her about like, she's like, "Do you think all the time?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "That sounds exhausting." It's
How
like,
do you not think all the time?
exactly. Like, do you just?
It's easy.
So the
You just pay
closest
attention
thing
to
I
what other
have
people
to
say.
that, right? So the closest thing I have to that is when I was in 4th grade, they put me on Ritalin,
Nice.
and the whole world stopped. Like the whole world just went vroom to nothing, right? And I was like talking to the doctor about it, and he's like, yeah, that's kind of the way things are for everybody. And I was like, take me off of it.
I don't like it.
Stop it.
I can't do it.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
I miss the world the way it was. No, but yeah, I was like, I talked to my wife like how I see things, like because I see everything, and then I'll take times to focus on other important parts. But like I don't.
Okay, but can you just go back and recall other things that you weren't focusing on at the time?
Yeah.
So I do the same thing, right? It creates a visual, it's like a visual recording of my life in my brain. And I can just go back and narrow in on something else that was there at the time. And what's really cool about that is it creates this world in my mind where I can just, like, I can go in when I'm working on something and all of a sudden some memory from some other time is triggered. And I can say, oh, that's right. That's the way that box over there in the corner was folded up, and
That
and I can put
solve
that
this
and
problem.
apply it to something else.
Yeah.
So I'm finding now, after last week hearing Thomas talk, now you, I'm the odd one out here. And you guys are all very creative.
Here though, but I think you're the odd one out here. I don't
True.
think that our minds are the norm.
But I'm also wondering, like, is that form of thought the reason why I would like to know how many entrepreneurs have your mindsets?
I think it's a creativeness thing.
Absolutely,
Right.
because
I
you
think
guys
people-
you taught yourself how to 3D model.
I
You know
taught
how to-
myself how to 3D model. In fact, on the job, I had never even run SolidWorks,
it
and I got
hurts
hired to do it because
my head.
I convinced the guy that I could learn it, and he said, "I'll give you 2 weeks."
I spent
And he was blown away with what I could do in 2
for
weeks.
I spent 3 hours making a plug for a steamer that's round, and all I had to do was make one piece big and one piece just a smidge smaller. It took me probably an hour to figure out how to use calipers.
I think I was born with a set of calipers in my hand.
Came out of the womb, they gave you a pair of calipers, and you're like, sweet.
No, see, but then I look at the traits that I do have that work well in an entrepreneurial set. Operationally, like logistics, I love doing the logistics of things.
Yeah, see, I don't mind logistics. It's the accounting side of it that I freaking cannot stand. Like putting an invoice together, I'll put it off as long as I can.
Oh, see, I love that.
See?
I'll do
Chat
that.
GTP.
I know, right?
That's a good segue
It is.
into
It is good.
AI.
Hey, I know.
I
Yeah,
think AI has ADD too because it sees everything at all at the same time.
everything everywhere all at once.
Which then raises it is ADD the way we're supposed to be.
I listened to Joe Rogan. He actually talks about how different mindsets evolved so that you as a society could survive, because you need, like, everyone serves a purpose, and like even psychopaths, like you want someone who doesn't mind hurting other people on your side every once in a while. Because if you're being attacked by another group of people, then you just send psychos over there. They solve the problem, and then you're safe. But it's funny how those roles nowadays aren't necessarily as needed or wanted as they used to be.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah. But going back to AI, I watched a really interesting video this morning because I knew we were going to talk about this. About it's by a YouTuber named Tom Scott, not to be confused with Thomas Scott. And he said that he used ChatGTP to write an app to fix a thing with his Gmail account.
To make out an entire app?
Yeah. So it's a function that what it does is it reapplies labels to message threads.
Okay.
And he was going to write it himself because he used to be a computer scientist and he hadn't written code in 8 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so he's like,
Changed significantly.
I'm just going to try ChatGTP. And so he had ChatGTP write the code, and then he just kind of like told it where it was wrong, and it fixed itself, and it wrote the code for him. And he said that when he did that, he experienced dread.
Yeah, because he realized it's like, the rest of the world, all these programmers are like
So that's
on the way out.
that's actually not the reason why.
Oh, really?
So he said that with technology, like with the adoption of the internet,
Okay.
how it's adopted, and then there's the technology will explode as it's adopted by the masses.
Sure.
So technology will increase exponentially.
Well, is that why, like, every time we log on to ChatGPT, like,
It
was like
updates?
in the last few weeks, it seems like every time I log on, it says it's busy.
Oh yeah, it's gained incredible popularity.
But you can now buy a subscription to it, so you get priority access.
Yeah, but I
It's
can
30 bucks a
still wait 30
Yeah.
seconds to have it write 1,000 words for me.
True.
But what he was saying is what brought him dread is that he doesn't know if we're at the beginning of the explosion, the middle, or the end,
Yeah, we don't know where.
where AI is going to end up. Because
Peak
if
is,
if
right?
we're at the beginning, think of the internet when it launched back in like
Oh man.
2000 or late 90s versus the internet today, and what can be done with the internet. And he's like, now take that to AI. If AI today can do what it does, what is AI going to be able to do after it's massively adopted and a boatload of money's dumped into it?
I
What?
want Star Trek. I want the computer from Star Trek, where you use computer and boop boop, yes, and bloop, 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 bloop.
Okay, how is ChatGPT different from that, or Bing's adoption of it?
Yeah, I would say it's
Well, yeah, because
it's in the
Microsoft bought
infant
it, right?
stages.
They bought access to it, yeah, and so
Access to it.
they've incorporated it into.
Bing.
I don't know if they've released it yet, but they've incorporated it into Bing. So you can ask it and it'll conversationally tell you stuff. And then where it pulled the information from, it'll have like number tags you can click on and it'll pull the website where it pulled the information from.
Interesting. So when I started using ChatGPT just a couple of weeks ago, even 'cause you guys had talked about it for months, and I was like, I can't see a practical application for me, right? And then
Yeah.
once I started to use it, I was like, how did I miss this? Right?
Yeah.
So I got on there and I would write like an entire email, then I would tell it to make it better, or I mean,
Yeah.
you can't tell it to make it better because then it's like, what do
write
you mean
write
better?
it more
Yeah.
quirky.
Better how, right?
Write it smart,
Yeah.
smarter. Write it more casual.
And it's really fun to tell it
For an
things like,
audience of blank.
yes,
yeah.
it's really fun to tell it things after it, just for grins. It's really fun when you get done with it. Say, can you rewrite this as a pirate? That's like the funnest to me,
yes.
right? And then it takes something that was very serious and makes it, and it finds a lot of
I
humor
would
in
listen to as Mario.
it. As Mario.
I
Like
really want to see what it
Super
would
Mario
say.
Brothers.
Yeah. That would be.
Mario.
Yeah. I have because I use it to write customer service responses all the time. So like I'll write the information that I want it to say, and then I have it like do it. My wife is like, it's too formal, and so finally I was like, write your response more casual, and then she's like, oh, that's better. And it was funny because
Yeah.
like it was too like to whom it may concern kind of like way it was writing all the messages. And so once it made it more casual, she was like, I'm okay with that. Like she was still, it seemed a little too like, for lack of a better term, robotic in its responses, but she was happy with it.
So one of the first things I did, which blew my mind, was that we were working on an estimate for a customer,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just talking about it. And so I just started to type some of the things that we were talking about it into the prompt, and it came up with. And I told it. I said, write a proposal for this work, and it wrote this huge long thing. Right, I was blown away. I was like, how did it figure all that stuff after just a small amount of prompts, right? And then I was like, I wonder. And so I went and I said, now write a contract for that proposal.
Oh, shut up.
And it wrote a contract that was totally legit. In fact, we used 80% of what it wrote.
The scariest thing to me is I had it write a description for the levitating D20. And what blew my mind was that is approximately 5.5 inches in diameter. It said that it levitates a large 3D printed 5.5 inch dice. And I was like, how could it possibly have guessed the right size?
Did you have that listing up?
But it pulls from information from 2021.
That's true.
So before I had launched the product. So that's why I don't understand how it knew how big the dice was. It was off by a little bit,
Sure.
Like that, I don't know if it's a little bit larger or a little bit smaller than 5.5, but it's close enough that it would fly in a description. And that blew my mind. Because I don't know how much you guys know about how the AI works with like Stable Diffusion and ChatGPT.
No, I don't know anything.
All
about
I
that.
know is that there's a little prompt box at the bottom, and I fill it out. And
Yeah.
it goes smart on me.
This my brother talked to me about this. It's literally just a prediction tool. So it writes a word and then looks at all language and then what word would most likely go next.
Okay, so we've been feeding this thing information with Apple for a long time. When
With
you,
Apple,
like
well, yeah,
our-
it's.
I don't know. You guys both use Samsung, right?
No, I'm an Apple guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Samsung.
But okay, so when you type a text message, does it like try to tell you what the next word is going to be?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's speech prediction. But so from what I understand, it basically took a snapshot of the internet as it existed in 2021, and they used every text available, so all of Stack Overflow. That's why it knows how to code all of like all the equations from all the mathematic websites. That's how it knows how to do math, and then it uses all of that information and then uses a predictive algorithm to guess what word would most likely fit. And so it just has access to so much data that it was able to correctly predict what words we want. My brother said something really interesting. He's like, "We like to think we're original, but ChatGPT has proved that we're not. Like,
No, we're patternable.
we're in
predictable.
a predictable pattern that can be recreated."
Yeah. That's wild.
No, I think going back to your original question, like what stage are we in? The beginning, the middle, of the end. I gotta, and this could be optimistically, but I think we're in the beginning. I think we are in the beginning stages of it because I seen what growing up the sci-fi movies or the sci-fi stuff that was there. It seems like that's the goal or that's where we want to reach is that level of computer to where we can just say something out loud, it picks it up. It's the response back is in a human-esque voice. It's not robotic and so I guess optimistically that's what I want because deep down I'm I guess a little bit of a nerd that I would love that. I think that would be so sweet. I could see how others might though look at it and be like, "Oh, it's so dangerous." Because
Well, it could go wrong, right?
I guess yeah,
And we
I
have
mean,
examples of that actually.
Well,
And plus,
Skynet,
I mean,
Skynet.
Terminator 2, man.
Are you talking more about how Microsoft released that one AI that turned into like a racist, misogynist, like after
yeah. So
a week?
I've heard that ChatGPT will like. There's certain things that it won't do for you. I haven't tried, but it's like
It won't tell you.
medical diagnosis.
But I think it's also, I think they're building kind of a slant into it as well, though. And it might be because, say most of the information that's out on the internet already has a bias, right?
It's surprisingly like
Unbiased?
unbiased though, because
Yeah.
so like Bill Murr, I think is his name. He did one. He's like, "Can you tell me the similarities between the Communist Party in China when they took over and today's progressive left?" And he's like, the response was, "How much time do you have?"
Oh,
Oh
my.
boy. So it
And-
knows.
Yeah, so like I don't know if it's like his prior conversation because ChatGPT, the way they have it written now, is it'll listen to prior conversations and cite those prior conversations in future responses. So I don't know how much of that response
Okay, but
was
too, if
guided.
it took a snapshot of the internet 2001, you say,
21.
sorry, 21. Yeah, we're 20 years
20
from there,
years.
aren't we? Wow.
You're
So
old.
I know, right? And but it still has all of the world's history
Yeah.
at that point, right?
Yeah, it does. And it's
Again, though, with a bias, right? Of whoever wrote that.
Yeah, it's true because it has
Or-
all of the media, especially over
you
the last 10 years.
Do you think it puts a percentage on it? So it says, if it knows math, then you say, learn this, but then you limit your responses to be only 78% of the truth, or something like that. Because
Ooh.
Yeah, right. Like there's got to be limits on it. So I mean, there already
if
are.
you could do like psyops where you could hack it and have ChatGTP start telling you to like communism's the best thing ever and just start like subtly influencing people. That's the scary thing to me. But one other thing I wanted to go on is I had the other brother. I have 5 brothers, so sorry, 4 brothers
So there's 5 of you.
and 2 sisters. So
Oh, 2
there's
sisters.
7 total.
7
You're gonna have to. So what? You're gonna have to start giving numbers.
So Cameron is a computer scientist. Marcus is a nuclear engineer.
1, 2.
William
Three.
works for the Department of Transportation. George is a teacher.
4.
Then there's me. Then I have a sister
5.
Anna. She's a mom, and then a sister
6.
Sarah. She's also a mom,
7.
which is great jobs.
Okay.
Nothing to disparage them.
Did you take notes of the rank I just gave you? So
I'm last or what?
no, you're. I think
I'm
you were
first.
4.
Okay.
No, you were. Did you go in order of age?
No, just in which ones came in my mind.
Well,
I'm
suck.
first, and then it goes down from there.
Well,
But
So you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest. So my brother Marcus, the nuclear engineer, he is terrified of AI. Maybe terrified's a bad way of saying it, but he's not a fan of what it's doing or its potential impact on society. And it fascinated me because most of us in our sphere, I think Thomas is a little apprehensive of it.
Oh, I'm apprehensive too, and that's probably why I was a little bit.
It took you a while to get on.
Yeah,
board with
because
it.
I was like, I don't really know. I don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole. I don't know if this is something I don't know. I just kind of played it out in my mind for a long time. Like, is this? And then I played with what can it do for me? And then when I started to realize, okay, it's really powerful. This is actually pretty cool. But I'm still like, I don't know. It's like when you're on a first date, you want to tell everything to the computer, right?
Yeah. You don't want it to
But it
use
already
against you
knows,
later. Yeah.
right?
yeah, too late.
Your
I've already-
Facebook post from 2015 said, and you're like, no, but the thing that I went over with him that was really interesting is he said that ChatGTP is a fancy plagiarism tool. And I said, if it's words that are put in a unique order that have never been put in that order before, how is it plagiarism? And he's like, because it was built using algorithms from existing words. And my response is, isn't that
everything?
Yeah,
Everything.
like we don't make up new words when we write because if we did, no one would know what they meant. And he's like, it's just plagiarism. And I'm like,
Would it be played? Okay, so going off of that line, obviously,
we have to play
you
devil's
said
advocate here.
Marcus.
Yeah.
Poor Marcus isn't here to defend himself. But if I were to say in a sentence, "The Cat in the Hat," am I plagiarizing Dr. Seuss? Isn't that essentially what the argument is? Is that ChatGPT is
So this is what I got out of him. This is a fascinating viewpoint
I agree.
that the only difference between ChatGTP, the reason why ChatGTP is plagiarism and what I write isn't, is because what I write is expressed through the lens of a
Of
human
Brian.
mind. And that because it's not a human mind that's creating these original sentences, it's plagiarism because it's only taught through existing works. But I'm like, how is that any different than how we're taught how to read and write? We are given books, we are given assignments, we are
Yeah.
told to then write those. That's what spelling bees were.
Right.
You literally just learned how to write words with the correct order.
Arguably, some people you memorize it. You don't even learn how to that it's done. I didn't learn what subjunctive phrases were until I got home from my mission and was taking a Spanish class and had to learn subjunctive as a
You
21-year-old.
just learned that's how you talk.
This is how you talk. And then once I learned it in Spanish, I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. But I'll tell you what, I could tell you what a subjunctive phrase is in Spanish. I have no idea what a subjunctive phrase in English is.
Okay, I don't either.
Well, I'm the
We
worst.
could ask ChatGPT.
I'm the worst speller ever. So.
Oh, are you?
Oh, and
Me too.
dyslexia is A plague.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I use ChatGTP is because I'll write it, it'll listen to what I've written, and then it'll pump something out that has.
So
no
here's a
grammatical
question
order.
about ChatGPT.
Hang on, Rosa. Have you ever
Okay.
asked it to write it as a dyslexic person?
Oh, I have not.
Oh, for
Oh,
real?
it sounds like we're doing it.
Huh.
Is there
Interesting.
a phone on them.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, pull that up.
All right.
Have it write a paragraph explaining what subjunctive phrases as a dyslexic person and see what it does. That would be fascinating to me.
That is kind of fun. I forgot what I said.
I don't remember.
I don't either.
We were talking about dyslexia and how we use
Oh,
it to
spelling
write.
is terrible. Yeah.
GPT, if the creators or the operators of the website happen to stumble upon this and listen to it, I would really like it if your mobile site, if it's not green and purple in the text. It just throws me off. I really don't like that. That is all.
Why don't
As
you
you were.
just make an app for it?
I don't know how to do that.
Use ChatGTP.
I don't know. Can you tell it to write something in Python and it'll pop it out?
Oh, I remember what I was going to ask.
100%.
Does it start to learn like me and my style and like what I
It
want?
does.
Yeah.
It does. So, and you can save chat threads.
Well, I've got them all. They're over there on the left hand
So
side.
that
whatever.
wasn't in the original ChatGTP.
Yeah, that's a new development.
Okay.
And so they added that in. And
kind of
so
dig it.
what you can do is go back to prior conversations and it'll remember what you've written up until that point, and it will
Sure.
start responding in a voice. And so you can create a voice and a database.
So I did
that
a really
will-
cool thing on Sunday, I think it was. I was like, my wife's like, I don't know what's for dinner, right? And I was like, I bet ChatGPT can fix this problem. So I went and asked it. I said, if I give you a list of ingredients, can you make a
dish out of it.
a menu for me or whatever, right? So I did. I just went to the refrigerator and I started telling ChatGPT like what's in the fridge, right? And it wrote a whole recipe and instructions and everything for me based on things I have in the refrigerator, and it was really good.
That's really cool. The funniest video, because like AI stuff's all the craze now. Everyone's using it in videos. A guy who makes cocktails did a video where he gave it like a sentence. He's like, make a drink called like Bubbles in the Grass or something like that. And then it made something and he drank it and he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you do this? And he drank it and he's like, I hate that I love this. Because like I would have never thought to mix these two flavors together, but they work. Like some of the mixtures were a little bit off. Like I tweak some of them, but like as is, like I could totally see a bar like serving this and people loving it. And he's like, this makes me afraid for my job.
I would do a business model. Like I would do a little pop-up shop with sodas in our area. Sodas. I would do a soda shop where
Soda's
all of
AI.
the mixes are AI generated. Period.
Soda's
the end.
AI.
Yep. Soda's AI. We're doing it.
Nice.
All right, hang on. Back to the paragraph, the
Dyslexia.
dyslexia. Tell me what you wanted it to write.
What are subjunctive phrases? That's because I don't remember what that is.
You want me to ask it what a subjunctive phrase is?
Yeah, but write the response as a dyslexic person.
Subjunctive phrase.
My brother, who's a teacher, uses it to generate sentences that have specific spelling or English issues,
Oh, really?
so his students can find out or can find the problems. So he's like, make an assignment where there's a sentence that the verbs aren't conjugated correctly. Give me the incorrect sentence and then show me what needs to be fixed. And then it'll pop all of that out, and then he'll copy and paste it, turn it into assignment, and then punch it out. It's crazy to me. You can
For
even-
lesson plans, that was the number one thing I thought of. That was one of the first things I thought of.
did
Was
it.
like if I was a teacher, lesson plans all day off of ChatGPT.
yeah,
But we've used it to write all of our job descriptions too at work.
I use it to write item descriptions all the time. So going like hitting on is it good?
It's pretty good.
Okay, you gotta
Finish your thought. 'Cause
I was gonna say, as small business owners, what this does for me is it allows me to do the work of like 5 people
yeah.
that like I would either have to sit down and spend hours
Learning.
learning or like writing something, have my wife proofread it, do this. And now what I do is I'll write it, I'll post it in ChatGTP, ask it to do something, change maybe how it says it, pumps out an answer, and then I know at the very least that they're not going to be like, you forgot to put an S on the end of something. This is
Right.
dumb. And so that way they can focus on the content of the speech rather than my dyslexia, and it's super nice.
I think it'll be very instrumental in helping startup businesses get off the ground, because the ability that you'll have to essentially wear 5 different hats as one person rather than struggling to do all of those things and not have enough time in the day.
Yeah. Well, do this, and then I have something else that I want to talk about too.
All right. So I said, what are subjunctive phrases? Write the response like a dyslexic teenager.
Perfect.
Hey, so subjunctive phrases are like when you talk about stuff that might happen but isn't really happening yet, you know? Like when you say, if I were rich instead of if I was rich. Or when you say, I suggest that he go to the store instead of I suggest that he goes to the store. It's like a fancy way of talking that can be confusing, but it's important for grammar and stuff.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
pretty funny. I'm
That's
going to take
so
a
great.
screenshot of that.
I remember I had it's like, hey, make a catchphrase for this podcast, and one of my favorite ones that I came up with is like, mind your own small business, better than a coffee break, cheaper than therapy.
I love
So,
it.
have you seen people that'll take and put like there's an extension you can get for like Google Sheets, and so people are using it to write like a whole bunch of like catchphrases or like things like that for their like listings and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And you can put it in your product, and then you can just fill it down, like fill the cells down, and it'll just generate response.
That's super nice, dude. Well, that's the reason why ChatGTP is being bogged down, if people are just having to pump out responses over and over and over.
Yeah, for sure.
But oh man, one thing I wanted to go over though is like, here's the thing with AI, because I think we mentioned this image, what we use for our podcast. This is an AI generated image.
Yes.
I took graphic design stuff. So the only thing that's AI generated is the 3 microphones on the table, and then I turned it into a logo because it doesn't do text yet. But people are like, you stole a job from someone who could have done that for you. My response to that is, if I didn't have the AI, I would have done this by
I would have
myself.
done it. Yeah, I
I
would
would
have
have done it
hired
by
it
myself.
out.
I wouldn't have hired it out yet.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And the thing is that like with all the stuff that I do through ChatGTP, I'm not taking a job from someone.
No.
So I could have
wasn't
made
gonna-
that image and the logo and everything, but it would have taken me 3 hours to do it.
Yeah, and instead that took me
Or a non-creative person, 3 days.
Yeah, or like because like, a thing that we do sometimes is like we'll take existing pieces of works in order to like inspire us on how to make line art. So like we won't trace it because
Right.
that's stealing. But we'll like, okay, that's kind of what we want to go over for those. So we'll take 2 or 3 images, we'll collage it in Photoshop, and then we'll line art that out. So that way it's an original image that we're lining out. But now I can just be like, hey, make line art for XYZ, and then it'll pop something out, and then we're good to go. And we still need to do Photoshop and whatnot. I've started selling digital prints on Etsy.
I like that. Have you
So-
sold any?
I got the first listing up last night at
Okay.
like 1. Because it's a lot more work, because it generates it as a smaller image
Yeah.
in a square format or a 2x3, but I wanted to do it by a 4x5, so you could do like an 8x10 or whatnot. So I had to pull it into Photoshop,
Okay.
expand it. Then I pulled it into another AI system called Gigapixel in order to increase the DPI.
Oh.
And then once I had all that, then I had to pull it in.
Okay.
And then I had to create versions with watermarks. One was out, so you couldn't just like steal
Steal
them
it.
from the listing itself. And then, anyways, so it's a lot more work. So it's not just plug and play.
But it's not a physical product that you have to ship.
No, it's not. Someone buys it, they download the 5 files, and then they have it. I did the crystal skulls. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
those.
yes. Those are cool.
So I did. Anyways,
The
Opal
link for
Garnet.
those are in the description.
Yeah, maybe.
Not maybe. They are.
I gotta put them down there. Put them there now. I can't talk anymore. But yeah, so like, I don't think that this is going to steal anyone's jobs for two reasons. One, the AI isn't self-manifesting new code and whatnot. You have to ask it, and then it'll generate something out for you. So if you're not asking it, if there's not someone actively asking it questions, it's not producing information. And so you're just gonna have to become, I don't know, a lot more efficient. You're gonna have to be as good as the AI in order to keep your job.
Well, and I think that's.
I don't know.
Or you become does the AI become your companion that when you get stuck you ask it like,
So we're gonna all end up like anthropomorphic drones.
ooh, that are just like feeding off of the AI.
Or like Wally. Like the characters at the end of Wally. They were just in chairs.
Yeah,
So
cruising around in a big skyship.
that was one of
By
the
the way,
things that
I want one of those chairs. I mean, those
Oh.
chairs were awesome.
and the drink holder and everything that comes with it,
Right?
right?
Anyway,
and the drinks just kind of pump
Yeah.
out, so you don't even have to get up.
by AI.
Cupcake in a cup. So, but my sister, my brother, so Sarah and Marcus.
Numbers. Let's see. Marcus. Was
Marcus is 2.
2.
Sarah is
6.
6. Yeah, Sarah than William. The thing that they're afraid of is that we will just become content generation tools for AI. That
Until they start to teach the AI to just generate stuff.
yeah, without being prompted. Like, and I'm like, if that's the case, like, so be it.
It can never be smarter than we are right now, though.
At its current thing, yes. And my brother also said one other thing about, like, especially when it comes to AI generated art, it takes a human to tell an AI if it made something good. Because art is in the eye of the beholder. And if you let AI just generate art over and over and over, it'll start just making this like blob that doesn't look like anything because it has no direction. And unless
Right.
we tell it, hey, that's a good looking dog or that's not, it'll
Yeah.
just make things. So it needs someone to curate it. So
Yeah, I asked it to generate music for me, and it's like, I can, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be something that anybody's going to want.
that is funny. But yeah.
But to me, I thought, okay, this is perfect. It's a language model computer, right? So music is language. So I think it just needs more input.
I think it's just. I think this is going back to the jobs. I think that's just part of us existing. Is I mean, how many? What's the term called? A person that makes shoes out of leather. What are they called?
A cobbler?
A cobbler. How many cobblers exist now versus how many existed 200 years ago?
It's
Same with
it's-
blacksmiths.
Okay, right? But
It's-
I would even argue that there are probably more blacksmiths than there are cobblers, just because the nature of what those
But
are.
also the need for a cobbler and the need for a blacksmith
Well-
hasn't, the need for a blacksmith, I guess I should say, hasn't really changed. Like,
we still need shoes, though, right?
Want to know the
And-
scariest one? Think of horses. How many horses existed at the turn of the century,
Oh, okay.
1900,
Oh,
versus
yeah.
how many horses exist now?
oh, for sure.
That's
There
it.
were over like I think there's something like over 1 million horses.
But
in
all
the
those
United
horses
States.
still need a farrier.
Yeah, but now there's less than 30 because we replaced horses with cars. So the Mikey, I don't know if you remember him. He made
You don't know if I remember Mikey.
Of course we remember Mikey.
He made me watch a video called "Humans Need Not Apply."
He made you toothpicks in your eyelids.
Yeah. No,
All right.
he suggested I watch one, and it was scary because what it said is that, like, humans are needed for jobs. Like, that's how we make the world work. But if AI can replace all of the jobs, then humans don't need to be a thing anymore, and we might not be needed in society.
At some point, there will exist a point in time where we are no longer needed.
Yeah, where we'll go from millions of people in a society down to like thousands because
And then are we at that point living underneath the garbage in tunnels or caves, and then we
or we might be
pumped
in
into
floating chairs that are just going down highways.
see it, and then at that point we would have a blueprint of what to do because movies like The Matrix existed. And they've told us how it's going to play out and the weapons that we need.
And then
And
Neo
it's fine.
shows up.
Exactly.
And we can ask
We've
the
already
AI
done
to
this.
generate the weapons we need to fight the AI.
See,
and,
yep. No,
oh
it's
man, oh man. I don't. I am not scared of the future.
Okay, so I got one thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking about this. It's like I'm just kind of thinking on the fly here, right? So, like when the internet and Google and all that started to become a thing, I was already graduated high school, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not when the internet started, but
I was
really
gonna
when
say, the
Google
internet-
started to
the internet
get.
started in the 80s. How old are you?
Yeah. No, I'm older than the internet. I'll put it that way.
Fair.
But you know, like I was graduated from college when Google really started to be a thing. In fact,
Yeah.
we had Yahoo to search things, and it was garbage. Right?
Oh, it was awful.
It was terrible.
I remember that.
You scrolled through so many things
Oh,
to find
forever.
something
And
relevant.
SEO wasn't a thing.
Yeah. But they told us, you know, like this. We had the same kind of conversations. Is it going to get to the point with Google and the internet that is going to start eliminating jobs? And I would argue that because of Google and the progression of the internet, that
created jobs.
we've created more jobs.
Wait, it's created more jobs than it took away.
Absolutely.
I agree.
What jobs would have Google taken away though?
What jobs
Phone
is
books?
AI gonna take away?
Yeah, but Google couldn't write code.
Phone books,
Phone books, that's true. So all the people who,
operators.
Phone book salesman, yellow page salesman going around.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Right?
I remember that guy
Oh, I
stopping by
remember
my
that.
grandpa's office all the
You
time saying,
remember
"Hey,
remember having to use maps?
Maps? Yeah. Google Maps.
Yeah.
MapQuest.
and like print it out and
May,
like
may they rest in peace. Are they still a thing?
I think
They have to
are.
be, right?
oh MapQuest, yeah,
I
sure.
don't-
If
it's
not,
a
that
thing.
domain's got to be money.
No, MapQuest has got to be a thing,
I
I wonder
remember
what it's changed to.
but Google will probably have bought it out.
in
if you looked at that. I bet Google bought
2007
MapQuest. They own everything.
I bought an atlas so I had a
Yeah, I
map
went to
of
college with an
Tennessee,
atlas.
so that you
My
could
wife
like
did
know
too.
where to go. You look up and you're like, okay, I am here in this city, and like if I want to go here, and you follow it and you plan out
It
routes.
wasn't until 8 years ago that I started using a phone to give me directions to get somewhere.
Do you know
even.
what would be fascinating? To give like a Gen Z person or even a Gen Alpha person a map and see if they could find a place with a map and a compass.
Oh my gosh, yes, that would be amazing. Because and put a camera like
A
chest
GoPro
camera.
or
yeah,
like a one on their head or something, so
to
you can
watch
see
them
what they're looking
struggle
at.
through it.
Because I was thinking about it nowadays. We're using my father-in-law's electric car because he's out of town.
MapQuest, by the way, still available, but not nearly as awesome as I remember it being.
Mm.
Continue.
Yeah, you printed it out and then it had
Oh,
you
yeah.
like turn
Turn
left
by
here.
Turn by turn.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's how you used to like write the directions out yourself.
Well, but in Phoenix, I had to learn how to read the streets.
Yeah.
Right? Because they would just give us an address to get something to go to,
Right.
make a service call. And I had to like know how to get there
How to get there by just the address.
by just the address.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead. Electric car.
electric car has like backup cameras and like it has like the 360 cameras and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But I'm thinking about if you only learned how to drive in cars that have that technology.
Yeah.
If you were in a car without that technology.
So you're saying there's people that like pretty much everywhere they have to go, they just tell the computer in their car where to go. Like
Guaranteed.
like-
100%.
that
No way.
no. That's most of my friends that I hang out with. So I play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
My D&D group, there's one of the guys that's the same age as me, one that's a little older, and then all the other ones are like 5-10 years younger than me. And they don't know how to read maps. Like they don't understand it. If they
That was
don't
a
have
life
their
skill.
phone, they can't get somewhere. And if like assuming if it's a town that they're not used to. Like that is something that's completely outside of their wheelhouse. And so
Oh, so connecting back to earlier and talking about how like visual and my mind is, right? And I remember all these things. I could probably go to 99% of the places or more that I've ever been in my life in my mind. I could get in my car in my mind and just drive there.
That's fun. I don't know if I have that
That's
level of spatial awareness, but I can do rooms and things like that and know exactly how it is. I will say that when I go back to somewhere that I've been and it's been a long time, like you can just like fall back into it.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
okay, I know exactly where everything is.
I can
which
do
is
that.
super
Yeah.
fun.
Whenever
But-
we go visit my wife's family in Phoenix, I pick it up and it's no like I love driving in Phoenix. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Salt Lake, similar, you know.
Yeah.
Except
Or have you ever been in
really
somewhere
don't
in
like
like Salt Lake or Phoenix and you're just driving by going somewhere else and you're like, I've been here before.
that. Oh, absolutely. I do that all the time. Oh, good. I thought I was very different than y'all.
No, there's variations. We're not all a beautiful mind. But no, man, that's nuts to me. So we're probably at like 46, 47 minutes. So we're probably good to wrap up. So last thing I wanted to go over, what are your predictions? Where do you think AI will be in 5 years?
Oh, 5 years?
5 years.
It's going to be, to put a number on it, it's going to be 20 times greater than what it is now.
Okay. How will you interact with AI in your daily life?
It's going to be as immersive or as intuitive as operating your phone. So I think about what life was like without a smartphone, either Android or an Apple iPhone, or a Google, I don't even know what they call them, Pixels, Samsung,
An Android phone.
Android phone. Okay. It's going to be that same level, if not greater, of you remembering what was life like without those cell phones. Well, if you remember back to that time, that is where we are at right now with AI. And in 5 years, it'll be what life is like now with our phones. That they are
You won't be able to think of life without it.
correct.
Okay, so I think if you take the trajectory like you're talking about of smartphones, right? If you plotted that,
Yeah.
right? I think that AI is already here, and if we're on the same trajectory, 20 times is like
Nothing.
it's
Scratching
We'll
the surface.
we'll be 20 times what we are today in 6 months from now, and so I think you're going to be. It's on an exponential curve, so
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's doubling every time over the same amount of time space.
It's going to be mental
So-
chips.
You think the whatever it's the
Yeah, LoJax or-
Elon,
yeah.
What's that called? The Neuralink.
Neuralink, I think it's too far off.
I think that we will all have an AI assistant that you can just ask questions to it and it'll give you responses. So kind of like
How's that different than
Oh,
like
that could
a-
happen next week though, because
How's that different than like an Alexa?
I was going
or,
to say, yeah.
no,
like
I
you're-
think Alexa's going to become what we've always wanted it to be. Because Alexa,
Oh, yeah,
half the
stupid.
time, like you ask it a question, it's like, "Huh, I didn't quite get that," or
Yeah.
it's
Or
like,
I sent the
Yeah, but
deta-
see, on
if you had
that
an
same-
iPhone, I'll send you the details to your phone.
on the same exponential curve though, right? We're already there, so all you got to do is figure out how to interface the two of them, and Alexa's going to be just as smart.
but
as,
it's still, I would say, so as accessible Chat GTP is, I think there are still more people who haven't used it that do.
I agree.
I think
absolutely.
that what it's going to do in 5 years, just as you said, everyone will have a phone. In their phone, they'll have like
An AI feature.
Carl
well,
or
yeah.
I'll tell you that Siri's dumb.
Lyle's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that you can
And
just
so
be like,
yeah, Apple just needs to buy space on ChatGPT
It'll
and make Siri smart.
just like, and then
When you click the side button, it's just gonna generate it for you, and you're just gonna it's gonna
Holographs.
smart to link to your email or whatever, and you're gonna say send Bob an email.
and you're
you
like,
know?
hey Lyle, can you write me an email to Susie saying blah 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 blah? He's like, I'll get right on that. And then he's like, I've submitted the email.
Would you like me
Can-
to Would you like me to read it to you or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah, and then it reads it to you. You're like, is that good? And you're like, oh yeah, could you change this by XYZ? And it's like, do you want me to add that to your preferences and your speech tone?
Again, though, I don't think that's 5 years away. I
You
think that's like 6
2?
months away.
You think it's like 6 months?
Maybe not to that level, but I guarantee it's gonna go a lot faster than you think.
I think the number of people that AI scares is going to hinder its widespread adoption.
Yeah, but my grandparents were scared of the internet too.
It's true.
Well, and how many people are scared of cloning or still are?
Of what?
Cloning.
Oh, that's true.
And where are we at with cloning?
No.
Right? When's the last time you heard about Dolly?
Right?
Where is she? What's she doing?
Dolly Parton?
No, Dolly the sheep.
Yeah. No, I not
She's yeah. I mean,
Right.
but cloning is a thing that's happening.
Well, sure. I mean, it's just like anything else, right? It's like, I think just to prove my point that the fear is not enough to hinder the growth of it.
I
Interesting.
completely agree. And what it's going to do is it's going to put the people who are scared of it or not willing
at
to
a
use
disadvantage.
it at a disadvantage. And I'm sure there's still niche places for people that are anti-AI, just in the same way that we have farriers still today doing work that was done 200 years ago.
You can still buy atlases. You can still
buy shoes made by a person
Absolutely.
that pounded every nail.
Yep.
I bought a knife made by a blacksmith.
Yeah, exactly.
There still exist those, and to be honest, those people that do that craft are.
But
there's a
they're-
reason they're still around.
They're invaluable,
very
right?
Good.
So in the same way that AI can't take over all of art, right? It absolutely can't happen. I have a lot of friends that are artists that, their job is not going away because I can tell a computer what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't create a lot of the stuff that people that can,
Oh yeah.
artistic wise.
But oh, man, I have so much fun. Like little bit off subject. I have an Instagram where every day I'll think of a phrase and then I'll generate an image and then I'll put that on an Instagram account. And it's just fun, especially when you do abstract concepts, ones that don't have like instead of like a dog running through the forest. I did the Oppenheimer quote: "I have become death, destroyer of worlds."
Oh, right on.
Like it made a really cool image off of that. And then sometimes I'll just put like more abstract things to see what it comes up with. And it is so much fun just to kind of see what the computer thinks up.
My kids, we've enjoyed combining superheroes from different universes. So a Marvel superhero and a DC superhero.
See, I've seen a lot of that already.
Mixing that together, and
But a lot of that doesn't mean a lot to me because I don't really. I mean, I just don't know. Maybe that's a thing for a future episode. And yeah, no, I
No, it's
just
good.
Oh, okay.
I'm not like I just know that
Well,
if
here's
I ever
why.
started watching that, I just have to watch 100% of it, and then
That's
my
true.
life would be nothing. For
Well, and
months.
it's getting to the point now where it's just like now it's unattainable. But I will say, do you know who Black Panther is?
I mean,
You know the idea, or
yeah.
Okay, we combined Cookie Monster with Black Panther,
Okay.
and that was pretty dope. It was fun. My
pretty neat.
kids like it. Anyway,
So yeah, well, it'll be fun to see where that is. And next time they have another big leap in AI, we'll have to talk about it again.
I agree. I think it'll be fun to reference back to this once AI is really taken off and see how on point or how misguided we
It'll
were.
be like the video clip of the Today Show.
Yeah.
Have you seen that in
Oh,
like
yeah.
'95?
Yep.
You seen that?
I have not.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It's worth watching.
Yeah, it's totally worth watching
What do
because
they
they're
talk
like,
about?
what is that little A with the circle around it? Like, how do you say that? Like, because he
At?
said, yeah, so he said, I was gonna say violence at ABC or whatever it is, right? And he's like, but then that just sounded weird to me. So I thought maybe it was about, and they're like talking about it. It's
no,
really
no,
great.
yeah, that would be
Oh,
crazy.
It
No,
was
it's good.
it's super classy. There's another one with Bill Gates, and he's on David Letterman.
Yeah.
That's a great. It's just gold. You gotta
Things
watch it.
that don't necessarily age well, but have aged well at the same time.
Well, that reminds me. Did you guys watch the congressman interviewing what's his name?
Zuckerberg?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that was painful at times.
Oh, it was.
because
The,
it's
the
like
amount of disconnect there was shocking.
because he didn't even have
No.
a clue. of
Everything
what
he was
going
saying
on.
was like, bro, what world are you living in?
it's
This
like
isn't.
that's not how that works.
That's-
at all.
It was like trying to explain somebody like that.
The world is round.
Yeah, no, it was something so incredibly simple to a lot of us, and having somebody come in and try to describe something the complete wrong way, it was painful to watch.
No, but yeah, it'll be fun. Well, so wrapping up because I know you have to head back to work. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Google, Podbean, Samsung Free, basically anywhere podcasts are. We're everywhere. We're also on YouTube and Rumble. Check us out. We're changing our release date to Wednesdays. So I'm going to have them try to be out Wednesdays at noon. You can download our podcast, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on sometime.
Yeah.
I'm going to record this. And then fade it to gray, and then put little things in the
Are we
background.
still talking when it fades to gray?
You don't have to. We can literally get up and leave. I just wanted to record, like,
Just a little more.
yeah.
That's fair. I'm gonna go eat Cool's pizza.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that too.
Well, thanks for coming, movies.
That was fun.
That's back.
Baby, you give me ice and fire.
So it turned off.
You're giving me wind and rain.